What's up, guys? It's Chris back again. I know I haven't been on for a minute, but there wasn't a lot of fights. Although there was a lot of boxing this weekend, there wasn't a lot of fights I wanted to predict. Because I kind of saw one-sided fights with the Zab Judah, Angulo, and Bradley fights. Last week with Juan Ma, I kind of expected him and Donaire would both win pretty easily, which they did. But however, after this weekend's fights, a lot to talk about. First off, I want to talk about Zab Judah's return to the junior welterweight division. Fought on Friday Night Fights. Got a sensational TKO win over Jose Armando Santa Cruz. Sure, Santa Cruz was a perfect opponent for Zab Judah's return to junior welterweight, but he looked really good in it. If you've been following Zab Judah on Twitter, I know he has a Ustream channel as well. I don't really watch that stuff, but I do see him on Twitter a lot. Read what he has to say. Sounds a lot more focused, a lot more mature as, a man, which also translates to him being a fighter as well. We all know with Zab Judah, he's always had all the physical gifts in the world. It's just mentally where he has struggled. He hasn't been focused outside of the ring, and that's translated to in the ring. Most notably in fights against, Clottey. When he's had to deal with adversity. He hasn't always dealt with it so well. The Clottey fight, the Mayweather fight, and the Miguel Cotto fight, for example. But he looked great on Friday night. The thing about Zab, he always looks good when he's up against lesser opposition that's below him. Guys that he usually always does. But he did look good at the weight. He looked fast. He looked strong. That uppercut that he knocked Cruz down with was just, that thing was a thing of beauty. So quick and just so sharp. That's one of his trademark punches. But just to see that out of nowhere and just the devastating effect it had, it was definitely impressive. So I'm looking forward to see with Zab what noise he's going to make in this division. Hopefully he can get some of the top dogs out there, I think he has a 50-50 shot against any of the guys out there, in all honesty, whether it's Maidana, Bradley, Alexander, or Khan. I think it's pretty much a coin flip between any of those guys in Zab Judah if he's at his best. Moving on to last night on HBO. First up, we had Alfredo Angulo, El Perro. I've said it before, I'll say it again in full disclosure. He is probably my favorite fighter in boxing to watch right now at the moment. Not biased as to how I do my predictions, but I'm just saying he's my favorite fighter to watch. Had a very easy time with Alcine. I thought Alcine would give him a few more rounds, even though I didn't know a whole lot about Alcine, which is why I knew her prediction for this fight. El Perro pretty much just went in there and the dog was off the leash and he bit. He ran over Alcine, hurt him, and got the stoppage right within the end of the first round. He looked good. Afterwards, a couple things that puzzled me. During the announcement of him winning, it said, #1 fighter or challenger contender at WBC 154 pounds, Alfredo Angulo. But I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure recently Antonio Margarito was announced as that same position, being the #1 contender in the WBC at 154 pounds. So I don't know who really is the #1 guy there. I suppose it'd be whoever, Gary Shaw or Bob Arum, whoever gives Jose Sulaiman more money. Probably Bob Arum, but I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to see either of these guys fight Sergio Martinez, the champ at 154. Gary Shaw said afterwards in a press conference that Alfredo Angulo would fight anyone from 154 up to heavyweight. However, he said he wouldn't fight Sergio Martinez above the 154 limit. So, even though Ludabella said they'd fight him at 155 for the middleweight title, which is only a pound above, which wouldn't hurt Angulo because he's had trouble making 154 before, but Gary Shaw doesn't sound like he's with it. I would like to see Angulo Martinez. I actually like both fighters, but I would favor Martinez. I think his style is perfectly suited for Angulo, as we saw Angulo's one loss to Kermit Cintron. However, Sergio does have the one loss to Antonio Margarito, even though it was years ago. Angulo, a similar fighter to Margarito, a pressure fighter, a busy fighter. It would be compelling to see if Martinez could hold off Angulo for all 12 rounds. If that fight can't happen, and I don't think it will, why not make Angulo Margarito? Whether it's for an interim title or something, or maybe even the eventual title if Sergio stays at middleweight. I would love to see Angulo Margarito at 154 pounds. As a fan, that's probably the one fight I would be most intrigued to see. And I'm not saying it's the best fight out there to be made, not by far, but it's a fight I would be most interested in watching that night. Anyways, moving on to Timothy Bradley. He won, as expected, over Abregu, however you pronounce it. Had a pretty easy time for the most part. He moved up. This was his first fight at the welterweight division. I guess he couldn't get a big fight at junior welterweight just yet. He looked good, if not overly impressive in this win. One thing I want to mention though, Max Kellerman. I'm a fan of Max Kellerman. I think I've said it before. Once I got back into boxing in '96, watching it, he was starting out on Friday night fights. We're similar in age. I think he kind of represents my generation well as far as a fan. And but he was talking about during the broadcast about Bradley and Alexander being the top dogs at junior welterweight, and Amir Khan being protected by Golden Boy. There's a little bit of hypocrisy in that because HBO is the one that signs off on these fights unless these fights happen. The company that Max works for. Also, he's talking about watching Alexander next month fight Kotelnik. Isn't Kotelnik the same guy that Amir Khan beat just not too long ago? So you want to call Amir Khan protected? I'm not saying he's not protected in by Golden Boy to a degree, but you can't say that and then talk about Alexander when he's fighting the guy that Amir Khan already beat next month. Also, Amir Khan on Twitter last night, I think it was last night or today, said he wants to talk to Golden Boy, says he wants Tim Bradley next. Whether or not that fight's made, who knows? We'll see. But Amir Khan, to his credit, after he beat Paulo Malignaggi, did say he would like to fight Marcos Maidana, did say he'd like to fight Bradley, did say he'd like to fight Alexander. So you can't say he's ducking these guys, whether or not Golden Boy's protecting him or keeping away from those guys. We shall see. I would like to see Bradley versus Khan. I think that's an intriguing fight. Honestly, I think Tim Bradley's the best junior welterweight out there right now at the moment because of what he's accomplished, but I think I might slightly favor Amir Khan in that fight. If Alexander Bradley doesn't get made, after Alexander beats Kotelnik as he should, I would like to see Bradley Khan, and I would really like to see Devin Alexander against Zab Judah, a fight that's been discussed before. I think that'd be an intriguing fight. I think that's a fight that could be made. I think it's a fight the fans would be interested in. And the winners fight each other, somewhere down the line. But that division's stacked either way. And Bradley, I think he's better served at junior welterweight. He looked okay at 147, but I think he's too small for the division. He had to add muscle to get up to 147. And, I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but his punch output was less, and so was his energy level. Maybe he just doesn't have the same stamina or level of energy. Putting on all that muscle, muscle does take more oxygen the more you have on. So I think Timothy Bradley's much better served at junior welterweight. He called out Manny Pacquiao Bradley after the fight. We all know that's not going to happen. If it did, I would favor Manny Pacquiao. No disrespect to Timothy Bradley, but I just think Manny Pacquiao is a much better fighter. I think we'd have a pretty easy time for the most part with Timothy Bradley. So hopefully Bradley goes back down to 140. Hopefully we get the fight against either Alexander or Khan next. And hopefully whichever one of those guys doesn't get in there with him, Zab Judah gets a shot against one of the top guys out there in that division. One last thing I want to talk about. David Tua fought Monty Barrett last night. I only saw the last 2 rounds on YouTube. I don't know if it's still on there. You go check it out. But David Tua, anyone that had hopes of him making any noise in the heavyweight division from this point on, those hopes are pretty much out the window. Looked overweight, looked sluggish. He actually got knocked down in the final round by Monty Barrett. They said it was the first knockdown in Tua's career. I could have sworn he got knocked down by Hasim Rahman in their second fight, but I guess not. But no disrespect to Monty Barrett, but he's well past it. And if David Tua cannot beat Monty Barrett at this stage of his career, he really doesn't have a lot of hope of having another run, so to say, in the heavyweight division. So unfortunate to see, but that's the way it is. I would like to actually see if and when Chris Arreola wins his next fight. I would still like to see the Chris Arreola David Tua fight. I think it makes sense. It's definitely a crossroads fight, and I think the fans would like to see it. It's a really exciting fight. David Tua said he's open to it, and we all know Chris Arreola. He'll pretty much fight anybody. He's proven that. Regardless of what you think of his work ethic, the guy will get in there and pretty much fight anyone that's offered to him. So I want to see that fight happen. Anyways, that's pretty much my thoughts on all that stuff, guys. I know there's a big HBO, our Golden Boy pay-per-view coming up at the end of the month. I'll probably be making a video on that fight or on that card soon. But until then, I'm out. Be sure and check me out on Twitter. Link in the information part as always. No real talk on Mayweather Pacquiao, The fight didn't get made. The whole press conference thing, if you thought it was going to be made at midnight, you're crazy. Like they say, a sucker's born every minute. And Bob Arum did that because he knew that Mayweather wasn't going to answer the call, and it would be kind of a chance for him to, kind of make it, make Mayweather look bad in a way for not accepting the fight. But either way, that's on those guys. I'm not surprised. I don't expect the fight to happen anytime soon, if at all. If it does, great. If not, I won't be surprised, unfortunately. But anyways, want to hear your guys' thoughts on everything. Zab Judah, Angulo, Bradley, Tua, the whole mix. Till then, though, I'm out.